What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer is now going to take us just north of where I currently am, Toledo, Ohio, the home of the Toledo Rockets in the Glass Bowl. A disappointing season for the Rockets last year, but with one of the better G5 head coaches and a storied program, they're going to look to climb back in to a Mountain West championship game this season. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate, and I want to thank y'all so much for clicking on this video and for helping to support the channel. You want to support it further, then please hit the subscribe button along with ringing the bell. Turning on notifications will ensure you don't miss an upload during prediction season, especially not one of your favorite team. I do got a degree on the wall that says I'm pretty knowledgeable about the world of sports media, and I just started my new job in the industry. You want to see all the cool stuff I get to do while still being up to date what goes on this YouTube channel, then please give me a follow on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call the platform, and Instagram. It's at tailgate929. You can feel free to even email me at tailgate929@gmail.com. Thank y'all so much for supporting and interacting with me or the channel in whatever way you may be doing so. And now, with all of that said and done and out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, the Toledo Rockets, coached by Jason Candle, yet again this season, the guy that I have a feeling eventually could be making that jump up to a Power 4 level. I felt like that for the past couple of years, hasn't happened for the past couple of years, and now Toledo again is coming off to compared to expectations was a pretty disappointing season. 7-5 record, 4-4 in conference play. There were a lot of things and issues that happened with this Rockets team that maybe made them not as good as some people, including myself, expected them to be. But with quite a bit of returning production and some good portal pieces, expectations should be getting back towards the top, if not at there, of the Mid-American Conference. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are going to go through a roster overview where the offense is over here to the left, the defense is over here to the right, and at the end of the video, we will dive on into the Rocket football schedule. I'll give them my game-by-game preview and prediction, and this video overall will tell you what I think about the Rockets here in 2025. Before we do get started, though, right down below me, returning production numbers are according to ESPN, and they do factor in transfer portal additions up to a certain percentage. Even right down below that, recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025 are according to 24/7 Sports. Now, with all of that said and done and out of the way, let us talk about the Toledo Rocket offense to kick off this video. They do have co-offensive coordinators Ross Watson, or no, my apologies. Ross Watson is technically a co-defensive coordinator, even though Vince Carres, whose name you see over there, is the primary defensive coordinator and the lead guy. So there you go. I just introduced you to your defensive coaching staff. Offensive coaching staff, here you go. Here are your co-offensive coordinators, Robert Weiner, however you pronounce the last name. He's the quarterback coach, while the offensive line coach and Mike Hallett, also named a co-OC. Tucker Gleason, he is going to be returning to start for this Toledo program after a pretty successful season last year. 793 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on 60.5% completion percentage. Also had 364 rushing yards with 7 rushing touchdowns on the ground, which was by far and away the most on this team. And we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. But Tucker Gleason filling in the role for Daquan Finn after he transferred to Baylor last year, and now obviously with the Miami Redhawks. We will be talking about that in this video, so that gives away one game on the Rocket football schedule already. But when you take a look at this Toledo team, and you take a look at the pieces that are surrounding Tucker Gleason, and you take a look at the way that they performed last season, the run game was not up to code. It just simply wasn't. They averaged only 3.5 yards per carry, and Tucker Gleason had a bulk of the rushing touchdowns. They had a total of 13 rushing touchdowns last year, and I told you just about 30 seconds ago that Tucker Gleason had 7 of them. That's a problem. You need your running backs to get up and be able to perform. Jaquez Stewart, who was one of the better running backs in this room, even though he didn't perform that well last year, may have even had some injury things here and there that kept him off the field. 68 carries, 269 yards, and a pair of touchdowns for him last year. You're also going to be losing your lead back. Are you? I believe you are. No, you are not. I am a big fat liar. So your lead back from last year and Connell Wallenczak is going to be coming back. He rushed for 458 yards and a touchdown while averaging only 3.6 yards per carry. I'm a big fat liar. Ignore me. In my notes, I did have it wrong. I knew my notes weren't right exactly when I said it. So he is going to be back in that running back stable. And you do get a couple transfers coming in here that probably will end up superseding him. But again, it could be a running back room decided by committee with, again, the likes of uh, Wallenczak. I have to look at his name every time I pronounce it. Again, the syllables are all in weird places. Chip Trayanum, formerly of Kentucky, formerly of Ohio State. He is going to be coming into this program. He is also formerly, again, of Arizona State. Had his best year, I believe, with Ohio State in 2023. Looking to add on to that here with a G5 program. And then Kenji Christian is going to be transferring in here as well from North Carolina A&T, where he was a pretty successful back last season. As far as the wide receiver room is concerned, Jerwan Newton is off to the NFL. Stellar piece in the wide receiver room last season. 1,033 yards and 11 touchdowns on 72 catches. 72 catches, second on the team. Well, who was first, you may ask? It's the guy whose name you see right over here, Junior Vandeross. He had 85 catches for, again, just shy of 1,000 yards, 957 of them, with 5 receiving touchdowns. So you are going to be getting him coming back into the wide receiver room. He's going to highlight the returners. Spelling is a little important, so there you go, Jawan. I fixed your last name. Apologies for that. And returners is fixed as well. So embarrassing. To recap, lead wideout Jerwan Newton gone. Junior Vandeross is highlighting the returners with a pretty exciting transfer. Here's where the new stuff comes in Trayvon Rudolph. Now, Trayvon Rudolph is from Northern Illinois and has posted some pretty solid production over the past couple of seasons. 392 yards in the touchdown last year on 37 catches and on 51 catches in 2023. Pretty similar yards per catch number. Had 531 yards and 2 touchdowns. 10.6 yards per catch last year, 10.4 the year before. Didn't even mean to rhyme that, but it happened. You also do have some other solid returners, but wide receiver room going to be led by both Vandeross and again Rudolph that transfers into the program. Your starting tight end Anthony Torres also played a massive part in the receiving room last year, 404 yards and second on the team with 9 touchdowns. No more starting tight end. He is now in LA. So a Holy Cross transfer and Jacob Peterson is projected to be the new face of this tight end room. Jacob Peterson was a really solid transfer over, or a really solid piece over with the Crusaders last year, and I think will be a good transfer. I like that pickup for this Rockets team. 3 starters returning to the offensive line with some really exciting transfers in at center and at the left tackle position. At the center position, you're going to be getting Terrence Moore. He's coming over from Pitt, power 4 body. He has got the power 4 talent. Jonathan Harder is also going to be coming over from Cincinnati, where I believe he was a depth piece last year and is now probably going to be thrusted into a starting role at the left tackle position here with this Rockets team. There's your offense for 2025. The biggest key for the Toledo Rockets, get this run game to get better. I think you got the wide receiver pieces, and Tucker Gleason can both run and throw. So I'm not worried about that, but this run game, man, it's got to see some improvement this season. The offensive line overall, I think, has also got to see a fair bit of improvement this season, especially in terms of run blocking. Pass blocking, you did allow 20 sacks last year. That number can get better. So offensive line, but mainly these running backs, man, they have got to provide some more production. Again, as I said earlier, Vince Karras is your defensive coordinator, and this, again, the run game overall is what really plagued Toledo last year, both executing it and defending it. The run defense was a massive concern and a massive liability at times in 2024, but there is a lot of experience that is prevalent throughout the defense here in 2025, especially through this defensive front 7. Now, we do have to preface this by saying their sack leader in DeAndre Ragan is going to be gone. Very, very big piece here for this defense. While he didn't lead the sack category by much, did have 4.5 sacks on 44 tackles with the pass defended last season. There are a lot of guys that are going to be coming back, however, that did provide a lot of sack production from last year, and overall depth is probably going to end up getting a lot better. Malachi Davis, Martez Pointer, Eshawn Carter, Anthony Dunn, who had 4 sacks last season, Dorian Ray, Laith Shama, Jeremiah Peters, and you do get a transfer in at the edge rushing position from UMass and Luce Julian. Hopefully, I said that name correctly. You even see his name, where is it, right down there in the linebacking room, because again, he is that edge rusher, can play linebacker, can play edge. And when you get into the linebacking unit, we'll start with the losses. Again, your top 4 tackling defensive, or I can't even say that. Maybe that's true, but I'm not for sure. Your top 4 tackling linebackers see their exit. I was going to say top 4 tackling defensive players, which I'm also pretty sure is true, but we will dive into that here in a little bit. Most notably, 96 tackles last year for Daniel Bolden with 2.5 sacks for him. Also going to be losing a very, very solid piece there in Jackson Barrow. He had, let me see, 71 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 passes defended last season. So bam, who comes back? Damon Ollison is a good returning piece. Ollison last season, 16 tackles. Again, not too much playing time, but not too shabby a production. And again, you get the transfer edge in Luce Julian, as well as a linebacker in Langston Long. That's probably going to play the middle linebacker position, or the Mike, if you will. He is coming over from South Florida. So that's another really good piece that does transfer in to the defensive side of the football. Secondary is also going to see some huge losses. Again, typing and spelling would help. Oy vey. I'll take all the heat for it. That is my bad. They see huge losses, again, like Maxon Hook. Maxon Hook, leading tackler on the team last year, exceptionally talented safety, 108 tackles, 4 pass defended, 2 interceptions last season. He's good enough to go play with the Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. He is gone. You also are going to be losing a couple of other solid pieces, but one notable returner, and again, that statement I almost said accidentally earlier would have been incorrect, because Braden Alls, a top tackler for this team from last season, third to be exact, does come back. 4 interceptions, 6 passes defended, and 72 tackles to go along with a pick 6 and a fumble recovery last season. Absolutely stellar return there for this Toledo Rockets team. What's more is you do get back a senior corner in Avery Smith that had 14 passes defended last season. Very, very monster number on top of so many other experienced players. Again, Braden Alls is only a junior. The rest of this unit is a senior. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Jaden Doughton, Nasir Bowers. Secondary is going to give a ton of teams a lot of trouble this upcoming season. Your special teams players, hey, kickers are people too. Let's show them some love. You're going to all be coming back this season, at least according to the primary option last year. So Dylan Cunanan will be returning to be the kicker, and Emilio Duran is back to be the face of the punting room. So there you go. There is your Toledo roster as a whole. And when I take a look at this team, again, it is probably the trench battle, but it is also the run game, both offensively executing it, defensively being able to defend it. Those are the big keys for this Rockets team this upcoming season. I think the rest of the offensive talent is there with quarterback and pass catchers. I think the rest of the defensive talent is there. Some really good transfers with a stout secondary, even after you do lose Maxon Hook. I think the rest of it is there. Just how do you improve in the run game, both offensively, defensively? That's the biggest question for me. And it's high time now that we dive on into the Toledo 2025 football schedule. But before we dive on in and predict this, let's look at some numbers below me and the beautiful logo that sits behind me. Odds courtesy of FanDuel, not me telling you to go place your money. You should do what you want with it because it is your money. You earned it after all. It just provides some good context to how good the odds makers think Toledo is going to be this season. 8.5, pretty respectable win total with a plus 270 number to win the conference. That is the best odds in the Mid-American Conference. When you take a look at that middle number there, we do not look at Group of 5 teams' odds to win the national championship. We know it's going to take something special. So instead, we look at their odds to be the Group of 5 representative and make the college football playoff, plus 2,200. Really not that bad of a number. It is one of the better numbers, certainly not as good as a team like Tulane or Navy or Boise State or UNLV, or you can throw out some Liberty. I think even has a better number as well, but that one might be cutting it pretty. Actually, no, I think Liberty has a significantly better number than that. Regardless, it is one of the better numbers you're going to find, but still a lot of teams to try to push through to officially get into the college football playoff. And I do believe that Toledo is going to be starting out this season a little bit slow on the road against a power program in Kentucky. Now, if you've watched my Kentucky video, you would know not too high on the Wildcats this season. There are a lot of things that have to mesh well. Zach Calzada needs to keep up what he did at Incarnate Word in order, I think, for Kentucky to really explode, because the quarterback situation was what held Kentucky back last year. I think Zach Calzada will see that improvement and see that jump and help, or I should say help Kentucky see that jump in quarterback play this year. However, I do not believe, uh, actually, let, let me backtrack. Again, Zach Calzada going to take a step up. Dante Dowdell coming in at the running back position. Kendrick Law, good wide receiver piece. Defensively, you honestly do have a lot of pretty solid production there. And this is one of those situations to me where I'm a guy that doesn't like to do the whole group of five, power four thing. It's going to be prevalent here in this game. It's a power four team with power four players in a power four environment, and a Toledo team that honestly trying to figure things out in the run game scenario might very well hold them back from winning that game there on the road. However, then you do have a really tough non-con game to open up what really starts a stretch of 11 winnable contests for Toledo. Now, I do think there are going to be a couple losses along the way. You'll find out where those are. But this first one coming up here against Western Kentucky, woohoo, is actually a really, really interesting matchup. Western Kentucky has been one of the premier programs in the Conference USA ranks, and they are going through a lot of changes this season. They are going to be going through just a ton of newness, new quarterback, new running back, all new wide receiver core, pretty much all new defense, but it's the foundation and the culture and everything else surrounding this Western Kentucky program that I think is going to make this Western Kentucky team pretty darn hard to beat. And I do like a lot of the pieces that they did bring in this season. Maverick McIver from Abilene Christian was a stellar FCS level quarterback last season. You're also going to be bringing in Lavelle Wright. He's coming over from Austin P, who, again, another really, really stout FCS level player. You can say the same thing about a lot of guys in the wide receiver room. Same thing on the defensive side of the ball. I think Toledo's got a little bit more. I think their pass game is going to give this secondary some trouble. As again, I think it's going to give every secondary some trouble this year. And with what Western Kentucky likes to do offensively, I think Toledo is equipped to handle it defensively, especially in that back end with that experienced secondary. So I do think, in what's going to be a close fight, Toledo does win at home against Western Kentucky, and this one should be no trouble at home against Morgan State. Now you dive on into your first conference game. You are on the road to play the Western Michigan Broncos, a bowl eligible team last season. Honestly, a pretty uh, a fairly decent surprise in the Mid-American Conference last year, posting a 5-3 conference record under head coach Lance Taylor. Brock Lowry is coming back. Jalen Buckley is coming back. Some wide receiver pieces, really good ones, enter in through the transfer portal. Defensively, ton of experience, ton of really good talent. Western Michigan's a team that, again, can stay consistent and even take a step up this upcoming season. I just think Toledo's got a little bit too much. Western Kentucky is a team, or not Western Kentucky, Western Michigan, playing a couple Western teams this year. Western Michigan is a team that I would watch out for this season, the Mid-American Conference. You want to pick a team that can really surprise a lot of people. I think Western Michigan can do it. I just think Toledo's got a little bit more. I favor Tucker Gleason over Brock Taylor. I favor Jason Candle as a coach over Lance Taylor. And again, for a lot of those reasons, Toledo should be able to win that football game. Should be able to beat Akron. Akron and Joe Moorhead's seat is getting really hot at Akron, by the way. That is a head coach that has got to start getting his troops in the right direction this year, or it could spell doom in search of him searching for a new place to work here in this upcoming winter. Akron's a team that, again, has never had the talent that Toledo has had, at least in recent memory. I don't think that's going to change this season, even though there is a world in which I could see Akron taking a step forward this year, possibly Joe Moorhead saving his job. it is just not going to be a good year for Akron, I do think. I do think it can be a solid enough year, though, at Bowling Green. Now, they are losing a ton of pieces. New quarterback, Terrion Stewart is gone from the running back room. You're going to be losing a lot of good defensive pieces. Harold Fannin is obviously now a Cleveland Brown, that stellar tight end for you. Bowling Green is replacing a lot. Eddie George is a solid enough head coach that I honestly believe in, but I think it's going to take some time for him to set the foundation that he wants to set. And for that reason, Bowling Green could struggle against some of the top tier teams like the Miami Ohio's, like the Toledo's this season, and Bowling Green falls just short against the Rockets. Toledo should have no trouble beating Kent State, a program that is in one of the roughest spots in college football. This is just a Kent State team that has struggled and struggled and struggled, and they made the right decision in firing Kenny Burns, but they made it way too late, and now they're scrambling. And now it's a program that is just going to try to scrap things together, and it's just not a good situation in Kent right now. Toledo will be able to win that game. On the road against Washington State, another one of these games on the road I would watch out for. Much like the game against Western Michigan, I think Washington State, even with all its loss, some leading rushers are gone. You are going to be losing, of course, John Mateer, most notably. Some really, really good defensive pieces as well. Some really good pieces in the wide receiver unit is where my mind was going first. Washington State has a new head coach this year. Jake Dickert, I believe, is off now to Wake Forest. Jimmy Rogers is coming over here. And if you don't know that name, he is the guy that has won back-to-back FCS national championships, therefore, with South Dakota State. And he's bringing some pretty solid talent with him. Unfortunately, is not bringing his quarterback with him. He has gone over to Iowa, but there still is some good talent that comes in, especially the two running backs in Angel Johnson and Kirby Voorhees. Both of those guys come over from South Dakota State. You do have some really good defensive pieces returning and coming back to this program that's been in this program before. A lot of guys that Rogers is bringing in through the transfer portal. I think Washington State is a dangerous team this year. I would watch out for them. Are they going to be as dangerous as last year? No, but I think they're going to win quite a bit of games, and this is one I think they're going to win. And this is a game where I do think Toledo is going to kind of get got here. I think Washington State's got a lot of solid talent, and I love the coaching ability of Jimmy Rogers. That is a win for Washington State, thusly a loss for Toledo, and you are 6-2 entering the bye week. A lot may have to go right for you to reach the playoff at this point, but obviously the goal of getting to the Mid-American Conference Championship is well alive, as you haven't lost a conference game, and that will not change when you go play Northern Illinois. Never a team to sleep on, always a team that can perform well on the bright stages. 7-5 last year. They pulled off the biggest upset in school history by beating Notre Dame, and they still do have a lot of good pieces. However, there are going to be some really key positions that see an overhaul this year, and I don't think they have enough talent for the Toledo Rockets. On the road against Miami, Ohio, I will tell you right now, I think Toledo beats Ball State. Caden Samanza is now over with Tulane, and I think Ball State will be scrambling for some other pieces that also leave through the transfer portal. And much like Western Michigan, I do think Central Michigan, like their in-state counterparts, can be competitive and could have the potential to surprise some people this season. It was a rough year last year, and I don't know that it gets a whole lot better this year. It could very well get better. I don't think it gets better enough to beat Toledo. So this one right here against Miami, Ohio is that swing game. Are you 10-2 or are you 9-3? Miami, Ohio lost a ton of pieces. They are one of the worst teams in returning production in the conference. However, look at the guy that's going to be starting at quarterback on the other side, a guy that Toledo is very familiar with in DeQuan Finn, and I don't know that this defense is going to be able to slow him down, especially if that front hasn't improved like it should this upcoming season. Love what Miami, Ohio did in the wide receiver room out of the transfer portal. Kenny Tracy's back to be the running back this year, even though you lose some really key defensive contributors, especially in the linebacking position. They are still going to be really, really stout, and I think Miami, Ohio is the team out of anybody on this schedule, maybe besides Kentucky and obviously the loss there. Actually, I think even more so than Washington State, gives them the best fight, again, other than the Power 4 program in Kentucky. There are a lot of tricky games to navigate on this Toledo schedule. This one on the road in conference play, Probably going to be one of, if not the biggest game of the year for this Rockets team. Obviously, already told you they're beating Ball State. No more Caden Samanza. Rough year for Central Michigan. Doesn't get much better. And a 9-3 record for Toledo is what I got for 2025. 7-1, probably good enough to get you into the Mid-American Conference Championship game. There are a lot of tricky games to navigate. Again, that road game against Kentucky, always tough to win against a Power 4 program. Western Kentucky, Western Michigan. If Bowling Green somehow surprises, even some of their home games, again, which Western Kentucky is one, are fairly slippery. This road schedule can be pretty difficult, but Toledo, I think, has got the talent to be able to prevail enough to claim their stake back on top of the mountain, or not Mountain West, of the Mid-American. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.